Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today in Titletown Packers podcast. My name is Griffin. I'm joined, as always, by my good friends Bron and Mason, and we're here today to talk about the Packers' humiliating loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it was an ugly one. It really was. Bron, how are you dealing with the loss?
Uh, I haven't slept in 4 days. No, but anyway, I'm in a tough spot. Obviously, everybody is. It was a tough game. It's hard to watch your team lose after we've only seen five losses in the last 20 plus games, however many it's been. So it's not something we're very used to at this point. But yeah, I mean, it was a tough one to watch.
Yeah, I told a bunch of people if the Bears could beat the Buccaneers, I was pretty set on the Packers beating the Buccaneers, and that
Right?
actually didn't happen. And I had to, tell a lot of people I was sorry and that I'll be looking forward to in 6 weeks when we play the Bears. That's the next time I can actually hold a bet against them. But yeah, it's been rough. Like I don't even know what to post on social media. I don't even know what I don't like watching anything on Sports Center.
Yeah.
It's been lonely.
Yeah, it's like I'm still 10 years old, dude. A Packers loss just ruins my entire week. I can't go on Twitter. I can't listen to the podcast I listen to. I can't turn on any ESPN shows or anything because they're just going to be trashing us, and I don't want to hear it. It's so heartbreaking when the Packers lost, and that's a great point, Braun. We've only lost 5 times in the past 2 years, so we're really not used to this.
No, we're not. And I mean, and now we've got to sit here and talk about it for an hour and a half. So enjoy it. But
Can't wait.
but no, seriously though, it's hard when we lose. It puts a whole different level of pain during the week that it's just like we can't get it out of our heads. And it's just not we're not used to it. And obviously the way Aaron Rodgers has been playing and the way the team has been playing overall, we just looked really good. And it was a completely different turnaround that we just saw, a complete 180 in terms of just the way we've played in the past in these last few weeks and what we did on Sunday against the Buccaneers.
Especially with such a hyped up game. I mean, this is going to be a playoff preview if we run into each other later in January and we just laid an absolute egg. It reminds me exactly of the Niners game last year. I wish we could live up to these hype matchups and actually kind of show what we can do on national TV because we were America's Game of the Week and we just absolutely embarrassed ourselves.
Yeah, there was only 2 games in the 4 o'clock slate this week, and I think the NFL does that because they want to put these like they this is practically a primetime game. I mean, which game are you watching? Green Bay and Tampa or Jets and Dolphins? I think that's a pretty easy decision to make for most people. And we embarrassed ourselves. And this was a lot like the 49ers game. We come into it thinking this is an NFC showdown, playoff preview, the two of the heavyweights in the NFC, and we just crap the bed. It's so embarrassing. And it's so heartbreaking that I thought we were a completely different team than last year. I mean, I still think we are. I still think we're much improved from last year, but God, this loss really felt like the 49ers game where we were just it looked like we were not even in the same class as the Buccaneers. And it showed that we really do have a lot of things to improve on still.
Well, even Jets fans were watching our game. I mean, the whole, I mean, everybody in the media now is, talking about us because we were that game that everybody was looking at. You circled it on the schedule of the NFL Week 6, and everybody was watching, and that's all everybody's been talking about. What happened to the Packers? What happened to Aaron Rodgers? Are they frauds? But I think it's something that, and we're going to get into all this, but I think it's something that's going to really wake us up and make us realize that we've got a goal that we have to go and achieve, but we've still got work to do, and hopefully we can put in that work and kind of get to where we want to get.
Yeah, guys, where do we even start with, going over this game? I mean, both sides of the ball were pretty awful. That first quarter was phenomenal. We jumped out to that 10-0 lead, but, that pick six changed the whole game. Honestly, Aaron didn't look the same after that. And then, the next drive, he threw another almost pick six. And, we didn't see the end zone or we didn't see any points for the rest of the game. Tampa Bay ran off 38 straight points. Guys, where do you want to start with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely have to start with. Let's go back to the beginning of the game. I mean, Green Bay goes out and gets a field goal on a drive that looked pretty efficient at times. Even though Aaron Rodgers said he didn't think they were playing efficiently, even in that 10-point lead that we had. I thought they looked pretty good. I mean, the things that Matt LaFleur was drawing up, they were having success. A lot of the different man beaters that we put out there, different shallow crosses and things like that to MVS and other guys was working. Devontae caught a few balls, and things were working. So I figured, I mean, I expected a little bit of a working progress type situation with Devontae coming back into the offense because now we didn't have Alan Lazard there too. So I figured there would be some growing pains early on, but we still look pretty fluid. Uh, early there against a good defense. So that's my main thing. Even though it wasn't as fluid as it always is, we were going against a really good defense. So I was encouraged by that start, and then the fact that we were able to go stop them right away on defense, and then get back and get that touchdown. Aaron Jones ran in after Rodgers' touchdown was reversed. So yeah, I mean that start was encouraging, but then obviously, like you said, Mason, things took a turn for the worse.
Yeah, I think on the offensive side of the ball, it lives and dies with Aaron Rodgers, and I think what he meant on the first quarter, the 10 points we scored, we had the two successful drives, and it wasn't on script. A lot of the offensive production, we had a few slants over the middle, a few crossers that were working well, but a lot of it was off script. And it seemed like after the pick six, Aaron was just like, he was baffled. He never, it was the third of his career. He hasn't thrown a pick all season. These are things he never does. And then he throws another one the immediate drive after. And so I don't know. I think it had a lot to do with Aaron. Maybe you saw him John with Ndamukong Suh. It seemed like he was getting a little in his own way at times. He was all year he's played in rhythm. We're talking about how well he's playing because he's playing within the offense. But his average time to throw this game was like 3.5 seconds, close to that. Like he just abandoned everything he was doing all season after the first quarter, and it looked like 2018 and 2019 again. And what do you know? We scored 0 points in the last three quarters, and I mean there weren't a lot of plays that looked like he left on the table, from that were obvious. There weren't a lot of receivers that he turned down that were open, but I don't know what it was with him, but I think he was really caught off guard by the two straight interceptions in three throws, I think it was.
Yeah, Rodgers was just, after those that first pick, the one that he missed a little bit, defensive back made a good play. That, he was probably like, okay, that was a good play by him. I'm going to come back and we're going to go do this thing. And then the one to Devontae, which was a really tight spot, that came right after, really tight spot, and Devontae tipped it. He was getting held a little bit. They didn't call anything. Comes off Devontae's hands right into another defensive back's hands. So it's tough. I mean, that changed the game completely. It goes from 10-0 with the ball to 14-10 with the ball, but your momentum is completely shifted out the window. Rodgers talked about pressure being a really big issue. It was just hard because he was getting pressured a lot, and the wind, he said, was a big factor too. So I just felt like he didn't have that same cohesion with the receivers that he's had in years past, and even in games past this year. Things just looked off. Everything looked off. Devontae was off. Everything, and he was just getting hit too much, and that just created less rhythm for the offense, and that's what at the end of the day kind of defined the game for us.
I agree, man. I think Aaron before the pick six was, I mean, that defense was in his face still. That whole first quarter was not easy for Aaron. And I feel like Aaron was making a lot more plays than he was obviously in the second, third, and fourth quarters. But like, I feel like that interception, just like Griff was saying, just changed his mindset. Like, I honestly think he was just like in shock. And then all of a sudden we were down two scores when we had all the momentum in the world. I think he was, he was forced to play catch up ball. We haven't played that all season, honestly. Um, I think both interceptions, I feel like he was trying to force things to Devontae Adams. That first one, I mean, you can excuse it. I mean, he made a bad throw. It's whatever. But that second one, I mean, I don't think Devontae was really open. I feel like he he just kept trying to force things that weren't there, and then all of a sudden he's missing that almost, it probably could have been a touchdown to Mercedes Lewis on that fly route down the middle. Missed that. That was, you don't see Aaron miss those. And then another one that comes to mind is right before the half. It was 10-28. I think there was like 30 seconds left. Aaron missed MVS. MVS had like 2 yards of separation going down the left side of the field. Probably would have had a touchdown if Aaron hit him, but he underthrew it. And MVS had to play as the defender and knock that ball away from the corner. And, we ended up not scoring any points at the end of the half and going into halftime 10-28. And yeah, I just think, like Griff said, that something was wrong in Aaron's head. He was just, and we also saw before the half ended, he was going at it with Sue, jawing at him. Sue obviously had that, that pretty aggressive sack and that late hit call. And they were, those guys have been rivals for the last decade when he was on the Lions, and those guys obviously have history. And
Yeah,
I think Sue was getting in his head as well.
yeah, they're definitely not the best of friends, and it looked like Aaron was. You never see Aaron act like that on the field. You never see him barking at defenders like that, getting in defender's face. But it seemed like he was trying to prove something, almost like, oh, I'm gonna show you on Indomitian Sue. And it looked at times like he was trying to be a little bit too much of Superman, but at the same time not playing well at all. So it's like he kept barking at Sue, but Sue was winning. The defense was winning on every play. And so it was really just kind of embarrassing for Aaron, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're not going to be exchanging Christmas cards, I'll tell you that. And look, I mean, Aaron talked about on the Pat McAfee show today how he and him were really jarring, and it got to a point where Aaron said, we're going to have a conversation after the game. Things were tense between those two guys, and it got heated. A lot of late hitting going on that wasn't getting called. It frustrated me, and I can't even imagine how frustrating it was for Rodgers. But yeah, something about those two guys, especially, I mean, Sue getting in his ear a lot. It was starting to have an impact on Rodgers on the mental side of it, and that was the last thing he needed with the way that he was getting hit, and the wind and all these different aspects that were kind of limiting what he could do for this offense in the passing game. So, it's just a tough situation. Obviously, really interesting to hear those guys go at it, and you watch Rodgers do something that, like you said, Griff, he really doesn't do often, and that's let guys, get into his head. Usually, most of the guys he's kind of friendly with,
Yeah.
but a lot of the times that's the case, and this time it just wasn't. Those guys have gone at it for years. Sue has stepped on Rodgers on purpose and things of
Oh,
that nature. I mean, it's that guy is not a nice guy, at least in terms of on the field. He's quite a dirty player, if you ask me, and we kind of saw a lot of that on Sunday. We struggle against these physical teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers is another one that comes to mind, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are clearly that way now. They're that new NFC physical team, and we struggle with them for that reason.
Must be nice to have some athletic linebackers. That
oh
is
yeah.
the one thing I noticed from Tampa's defense. Devin White and Levante David were those guys are game changers. They stopped our whole running offense, and both of them had multiple, combined for multiple sacks on A-Rod. That's a game changer right there, and we do not have that on our defense.
Yeah, and is so Todd Bowles is so blitz happy. He was just sending them whenever he felt. And Aaron's usually one of those quarterbacks. It's like, oh, you can't blitz him. You can't blitz 12. He's going to eat you up. But he could not do anything to stop these blitzes. And yeah, like you said, they shut down the entire run game. Aaron Jones could not get anything on the ground. What did you say, Mason? He had 10 carries for 15 yards.
Yep.
That is, oh man, and a lot of that goes back to Matt LaFleur's game plan. I don't know why he kept trying to get these outside zone stretch plays going, these outside pitches that we love. I have no idea why he kept doing that, because we can't get up to the second level. Our O-line could not get up to the second level to stop these guys. They're faster than our guys, and they kept shutting it down, and we kept trying it. It was so annoying, to watch. And then yeah, in the blitz, they were getting after Aaron, and Todd Bowles just a great game utilizing these linebackers that the Buccaneers have, and they really shut down the Packers in the run game and the pass game.
You're right about that. They just, they couldn't compete with these guys that Todd Bowles is sending on blitzes. And like you said, Rodgers, he wasn't doing that good of a job against the blitz like we expected him to. But a lot of the times that was because guys are right in his face right off the snap a lot, and we saw that with his second pick. There's photos going around of uh, the Buccaneers well off sides before the snap. And then that kind of impacted the way Rodgers was going to have to get the ball out. He had to throw it quick, and it ended up getting picked. So, I mean, things like that had a huge impact on what Rodgers was able to do. But the key thing that really changed the game for the offensive line was the fact that we allowed 4 sacks after allowing just 3 in the first 4 games. I mean, that's ridiculous. How could that happen? How could you completely flip the script on that situation? That's hard to overcome when your O line does something so well over the course of the last 4 games, and then it just completely turns on its head. That's hard to overcome as an offense, and it just continued all night long. The pressure that Aaron couldn't overcome, and the run game couldn't get through. So that really had a big impact on what we were trying to do.
And that's the thing with the O line. It's like this year we haven't really played against any ferocious pass rushing units so far in 2020, and we're coming into this game thinking we have one of the strongest offensive lines in the league, especially in pass protection. We've given up 3 sacks, like you said. 2 of those were Aaron's fault. So, and then we haven't played a pass rush like Tampa Bay has, especially against a defensive coordinator like Todd Bowles, who loves to send the blitz and is unpredictable with his blitzes. They really just ate the Packers' lunch on the offensive line. And then David Bakhtiari going out didn't help at all because Rick Wagner, holy God, Rick Wagner was bad at left tackle. He was awful. And I get it. It's hard to go from right tackle to left tackle, but God, he was bad. He gave up a sack to JPP where he didn't even get in the way. It was embarrassing for Rick Wagner and really the entire offensive line. Elton Jenkins gave up the first sack of his entire career. Oh, Lord.
Rip.
Yeah.
The only confusing part to me was we saw in that first drive that Jamal Williams broke off a 25-yard run right up the middle, and we totally neglected that that inside zone run
Yeah.
for the rest of the game. And I just don't understand why we didn't go back to that. The Buccaneers last week lost Vita Vea for the rest of the year. They're huge nose tackle that's great at stopping the run. So they had their second guy in there, and obviously it worked with Jamal Williams on that first drive, and then we totally abandoned it. I don't understand.
Against one of the most athletic defenses in the league.
Yeah, you'd think. I mean, Devin White and Levante David were, they were covering that outside stuff. I felt like that inside stuff would have kept working. We saw AJ Dillon break off one, in garbage time. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, like you said earlier, Aaron Jones only finished with 15 yards, and it's because of those outside runs were not working whatsoever.
Yeah, the lanes were just not there. The linebackers of Tampa Bay are just too athletic for us to try and stretch the field horizontally on every run play. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, and another thing really that was kind of surprising, but it was something that we had to overcome and just couldn't, was the fact that Devontae looked completely off. I mean, his connection with Rodgers was just not there. Even on the completions, it just looked like something was off, it just a tick off. And I guess that tends to happen when he goes out and we're in a tough spot after he comes back after 4 weeks, whatever he was out. Um, so I mean, yeah, that was a big problem. He just looked like he wasn't in the right spots at times. He was the target on both of Rodgers' interceptions. So something was up. I don't know what it was. Hopefully they get that connection back. Rodgers talked about that week of practice not being great. However true that is, I guess we'll find out. But um, yeah, I don't know. It's something was off there, and just combine that with the fact that Lazard is not there anymore right now with that injury. He's on IR. We just didn't have that consistent second weapon. When you've got Devontae in there, it's okay. It's like, okay, we have to get him the ball. But when Lazard is in there with him, Rodgers has that other guy that he can go to. But without him, it's like it's either Devontae's the first read on like 90% of the plays, 75% of the plays. He's going to be the guy that Rodgers is looking at. And when Lazard isn't there as another viable option, Rodgers has to go to his second option when they're taking Devontae away. And that's what the Buccaneers really tried to do. So they're taking Devontae away, and then Rodgers has to go to his second option. That's where the rhythm goes. That's where all that stuff goes that makes things go off schedule, and that changed the game for us offensively.
For sure. And you can't blame Aaron really for trying to force the ball to Devontae. I mean, who else is he going to throw to? MVS is proving more and more to just be he's a deep threat because he's fast. He's not a great route runner. He's never had a great connection with Aaron and the short to intermediate stuff. And other than that, we got Darius Shepard, who's good for a play or two a game, and Malik Taylor, who's I don't know. EQ St.
He's
Brown.
not good for a player too. He's just not. He's just not. I mean, we can't. One thing I want to say quickly is I'm really sick and tired of watching these undrafted free agents play starting roles on this team. I just it doesn't make sense. I mean, wow. We probably lead the league in undrafted free agents playing significant time for us.
We
It's
have to.
mind-boggling. I mean, there's got to be players that are better than these guys. There has to be other guys out there. We're relying on these guys that did not get drafted. It's unbelievable. And this has happened for years in Green Bay. We're relying on guys like Darius Shepard, undrafted, Malik Taylor, undrafted. He was on the practice squad all of last year. He hasn't made the team in years past, and all of a sudden he's our number 3 receiver. I mean, I don't even know how we could go about doing this every week and expect to have success. Yet we
Even our
do
good
somehow
players.
most of the time. Yeah,
Even our
even
good players are undrafted
Alan
or
Lazard. Alan Lazard.
late round picks.
Alan Lazard is another guy that he just he's one of the guys that just looks really good right now. But Geronimo Allison was another one that we expected to be really good, and a lot of the times these undrafted guys will flash stuff, but they never really pan out for like a career, a guy that you can rely on. And Geronimo Allison, he flamed out after looking good for a few games, in years past, and we just can't go into years and go into seasons expecting these guys to be high level contributors and also have success as a team. It just doesn't make sense to me.
At the end of the day, Bron, you say this all the time. They were undrafted for a reason, or they were 5th round, 6th round, 7th round picks for a reason, because they're good against bad opponents and they're good for maybe a play or two against good opponents. But other than that, we're never going to find these franchise guys. I mean, sometimes there's the diamond in the rough. You get the 1 in a million chance at one of these guys turning into a franchise guy, but it rarely ever happens because they do not have the talent of these premium round draft picks. And when we're relying so heavily on nothing but 5th round or later draft picks, it shows against these good opponents, these good defenses like Tampa Bay.
Well, when you look at everybody always says, "Oh, the Packers are so good at converting these undrafted guys into stars." It's because we lead the league in guys that are undrafted playing for us, and of course, one of them every 50 guys we throw out there is going to end up being a decent player. It happens. I mean, Donald Driver is the one guy that comes to mind. He was a 7th round pick that turned into a Hall of Fame caliber player, but it just doesn't happen very often. I mean, those guys are like you just said, they are not expected to come in and contribute. Yet we kind of force them to into those roles, and somehow hope for them to have success. And I just don't think it's a viable way to assemble a football team, especially when you want to have success. You can't be relying on guys and just hoping they come out and work, because any successful team needs to have consistency, and undrafted guys bring everything but that.
I mean, just look at the guys we've taken in rounds 4 or later in the past years. We've got, we had that year of MVS, EQ, and Jamon Moore, who's not on the team anymore. And then you go past that, we've got guys like Trevor Davis, Jeff Janis, Jared Abbrederis, and another undrafted guy, Jared Boykin. I mean, none of those guys lasted. I mean, what are the odds? Jay Kumaro is another guy. What are the odds you find one in the late rounds or an undrafted guy? I mean, the couple that come to mind are Antonio Brown in the 6th round for the Steelers, or Marcus Colston back in the day for the Saints was a 7th round pick. And then Bron said, Donald Driver for the Pack back in 99, he was a 7th round pick. It's just so rare. And you look at the guys we've picked in the 2nd round, Devontae, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb. I mean, It's
There you go.
giant giant talent gap, and I think we've been hurting from not getting lucky in these late rounds and refusing to use picks on high picks on these wide receivers. I think it's finally catching up to us.
And all those guys you mentioned about the late round picks or undrafted guys, these are all guys that Packer fans get really excited for because they have like two good plays in a game, and what a great game for this guy, and it never pans out. It seems like, especially lately.
And if you think it's bad on offense with the guys we've got out there, look at our defense right now. I mean, I think more than half our lineup is undrafted guys. It's ridiculous. It's concerning, and it's frankly frustrating. But I'm not going to go crazy here ranting about it. But I just think it's a problem, and I don't know why we have this mentality about assembling a team this way. And at times it's come back to bite us. And a lot of the times Aaron Rodgers masks our flaws. Like if you look at this team without Aaron Rodgers, I'm not sure we win a game. And it's pathetic to say that, but he is the most valuable player in the league. And he should win that award every year. But the fact is, we just are not a good football team without him. And that's because we've got so much just, inexperience, lack of talent, you name it, we've got it. And it's just not good.
After the Saints game, me and Bron were on the pod just just hyping up this, our weapons that we thought we had. We were talking about how Robert Tonyan was turning into a star. Alan Lazard before he got hurt was a clear cut wide receiver too. Devontae Adams was going to be back and he was going to be top 5 wide receiver. And now all of a sudden things have changed. It's scary now because what we just saw last week, Aaron Jones disappeared and then Devontae Adams didn't have the best game and nobody stepped up and it shows. It's honestly frightening. I thought a couple weeks ago we would be fine, but now I'm in worry mode now.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like it's a lot of recency bias and things like that. But I mean, Robert Tonyan, he's been around for a while. He's proven that he can play at a decent enough level to stay on the roster. And now he's looking like, with the snaps that he's getting, he can be our tight end for now. Like he's serviceable enough. He catches the ball. That's something a lot of guys
He
that
does
we've had
catch
run
the
through
ball.
this team don't do. He's got the shortest hands of anybody on the team, frankly. And I just think that some of these guys, like I think Robert Tanyan is a good example of somebody who has worked out, for the most part. And Alan Lazard is another one that's worked out for the most part so far. But at the same time, we've also got Darius Shepard, Malik Taylor, other guys that you can, even guys on the offensive line, Lucas Patrick. Like it's just we've got so many of those guys out there, and we can't be expecting them to be really contributing for us. And so far, that's been the case for years in Green Bay.
I think I think we do have the weapons to produce when they're elevated by the quarterback and the head coach. Aaron's been talking all year about how wide open guys have been, and a lot of that has to do with Matt LaFleur's offensive scheme and play design. And guys have been wide open for the first 4 games of the season, but as soon as we get punched in the mouth and it's time to respond, we don't have the talent to respond. We've seen it in both San Fran games last year, the Chargers game last year, and now this game. As soon as we go down, as soon as we need someone to make a play, there's no one to make a play because they have to double Devontae, and no one else is open.
And if Aaron's struggling, forget it. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we're not going to win. We're not going to win a game that he even, if he's not playing at an elite level, we're not going to win the football game. That's just the way it is. Even his bad days, we win football games. But if he's having a day like he had on Sunday where he just couldn't get anything going, there's no chance we're going to win that game. It's just that's the reality of it because of the lack of talent that we have pretty much everywhere.
The reason I said it was worrisome for for our weapons just not being there. Well, like Griff said, once they shut down Devontae Adams, we don't have another like playmaker, like another guy that we can like trust to like make a play on his own. I'm just looking around the league at some of these young wide receivers. I mean, Justin Jefferson, who just got drafted this year, is he's top 5 in the NFL in receiving yards with
Yeah.
Minnesota. Look at DK Metcalf, who got drafted in the 2nd round last year. Honestly, he's looking like Julio Jones Jr. over here. He can, one of the best deep route wide receivers in the NFL. And then guys like, like CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin are both really good. Both guys, drafted recently that we all had our eyes on. And it's just scary once, like you said, Griff, once they take away Devontae, like I don't know if is there a guy to trust that can make a play when we need it. It's
It,
scary.
there's so many great young receivers that everyone is hyping up right now. And it's so annoying. We couldn't get one of these guys. Not one of them. Justin Jefferson is the most annoying one. The fact that he's on the Vikings annoys me. And the fact that he's the guy every Packer fan loved in this year's draft. And we wanted him so badly. I wanted him so badly. And watching him tear up the league right now against everyone is so heartbreaking.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's rough. Who knows though? Maybe I don't even want to get my hopes up, but maybe they'll trade for somebody. I don't know. Reports have come out. Last year we tried to trade for Robbie Anderson, and I don't know. We just weren't. They wanted a second round pick. We weren't willing to do that. Whatever the case is, we've tried to sign guys: Emmanuel Sanders, Sammy Watkins, Allen Robinson. We've tried to sign guys. I don't know. It's just maybe this year we'll get somebody. I don't know. We don't have a lot of cap room, and I'm sure Brian Gutekunst is and Russ Ball are fretting about it already. The fact that we might lose some cap space next year with the COVID thing, but um, you know, who knows? Maybe they'll finally get somebody and put us over the hump. We need someone. I really think we do, especially when we have these injuries. Injuries happen. We can't, and this goes back to the undrafted guy thing. We can't expect Darius Shepard to come in and save the day. It just
Yeah.
shouldn't. We can't expect it. And a team like this that's in a position to win needs to be prepared for injuries to happen, so we can still go out and still try to win a Super Bowl.
If you're an Alan Lazard injury away from having no receiving talent, that's an issue. Oh my God, that's an issue. Alan
Imagine,
Lazard.
I mean, just imagine going a long stretch without Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard. I mean, we've seen a game with it, but goodness gracious, that would be worrisome. We would have nobody out there. I mean, Darius Shepard and Malik Taylor would be your number ones. Equinemius St. Brown, if he decides to play, and by that I mean show up and catch a football, maybe. I'm getting angry here, and I'm just getting aggravated. It's rough. We just after a while you get tired of seeing what's going on with the way our roster has been assembled. I don't know. Maybe we'll trade for somebody. Like I said, who knows? It'd be nice.
It would.
Supposedly John Ross is available from Cincinnati.
There's a lot of guys available. AJ Green, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, guys in Houston are available possibly. There's going to be guys available. We just have to make a move and trade one of our precious fifth round picks. That, I mean, we just have to. If we're gonna do it, let's make a move. If we're gonna try to compete for a Super Bowl, let's make a move and leave no doubt with our receiving core.
And this all goes back to the Jordan Love pick. The fact that this organization is focused so heavy on building for the future, saving these precious fifth round picks. So we're always in the playoffs, but we're never going all in on a Super Bowl season with a 36-year-old Hall of Fame quarterback who's on the last leg of his career. And we drafted his backup quarterback in the first round. Oh man, this is
His third string
third
quarterback in the
string
first
quarterback
round.
who's been inactive in every game this season.
And in fact, we also traded up to get him and used one of Brian Gutekunst's precious fourth round picks. Uh,
Oh man.
so
Oh
there's
man.
that. Brian Gutekunst values fourth round picks and fifth round picks and sixth round picks until he has to get a quarterback that will not play a game for the next 5 years, probably, if at all.
I hate to go back to the draft because it was such hell for every Packer fan.
Like, yeah, like we need any more like sorrow right now. But
But the fact
after
that
that
we didn't
loss,
get a single receiver in that entire draft, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really? That was our first or second biggest weakness on the roster coming out of 2019 when we were on one game away from the Super Bowl and we didn't draft one wide receiver. It's showing. It's showing right now how big of a problem that is. And maybe a rookie wide receiver wouldn't impact that much, but I don't know. I think a rookie wide receiver would have more of an impact than Equinemius St. Brown or Darius Shepard or Malik Taylor or MVS, quite frankly. Because that guy, I'm close to done with that guy too.
That class was loaded too. That wide receiver class. Look
Yeah.
at Chase Claypool. is making a huge name for himself in Pittsburgh, and then we got Laviska Shenault is being used like a Swiss Army knife in Jacksonville. It's
T
still
Higgins
annoying.
is T Higgins is playing well.
Oh my god, we could have had him. He got picked in the second round.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
All right. Let's stop talking about this because it's not like we have enough just sad things to talk about right now.
It's so
Speaking of sad
annoying, though.
things, I know. Speaking of sad things, let's move on to the defense. You know.
Oh god.
Okay. All right, seriously though. All right, let's talk about the defense. For the early on, things looked pretty good. We stopped Tom Brady a couple times, and it looked pretty good. But then when Rodgers threw the pick, that allowed a touchdown, and then Rodgers threw another pick. They had to try to make a goal line stand. Didn't happen, obviously. 14-10. Defense is in a much worse position, but the defense in the end didn't put us in any position to have a chance to come back, and that was one of the biggest problems in the end. A few things I want to touch on. A couple things I would never like to see again from Mike Pettin. Number one, 12-yard cushions on 3rd and 2. I'm done with those. I'm done with those because it's not like they only need 2 yards or anything. Number 2, yeah, that was rough. Number 2, half our roster being undrafted free agents and expecting them to compete against guys like Chris Godwin and Mike Evans.
Okay, I think that's less true for the defense. I think.
Well, I mean, Chris Barnes is out there. We've got Ty Summers, who was a 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
Let's see, Shannon Sullivan, undrafted, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But at least we have the 3rd-round pick, Will Redmond, out there.
Okay, but I think the organization has pumped much more talent onto the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side.
That's true, but then we've got Mike Pettin, who allows 12 men on the field twice out of 5 plays. And he also drops our defensive tackles into coverage on every play. And we're in a tough situation.
If I see Montrevious Adams in coverage...
Oh, no.
That killed me.
Oh. Dude. When both Kenny Clark and Montrevious were out there in coverage, I was like, okay, they're rushing 2 guys.
And they still picked up 10 yards.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. It's a problem. I mean, instead of sending blitzes, we're sending less than 2. I mean, we're sending 2 guys. It's like, okay, that'll work.
I'm done with the 3-man rush in the red zone. I'm done with that. Against Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah. Let's let Tom Brady pick us apart with checkdowns. Yeah, fine. Here's the guy we're not going to blitz. Here's the guy we're not going to blitz.
The guy who is shown.
The guy can barely walk.
The guy is shown the only way to beat Tom Brady is to blitz him, give him pressure, and we're rushing 3 in the red zone. Are you kidding me, Mike Pettin?
And for one thing, it's not like the pass rush is even getting home. We're in no man's land on defense. Nothing's working.
What does the defense do well? What do they do well?
They drop into coverage on 3rd and 2. They'll have a 15-yard cushion. That's what they do well.
They don't tackle well. They don't stop the run well. I don't know.
The red zone defense is horrible. They don't create turnovers. They do nothing.
No pressure.
We're laughing, but in reality, this is the biggest tragedy that we can see out here.
It really is. This was the thing. Like, even things we were great at. Our defense wasn't great last season.
We have 3 turnovers in 5 games.
We haven't had
defensively.
When's the last time we had a turnover? Oh, week 3, I guess, on that Taysom Hill fumble.
We can't even Tom Brady's lofting balls in the air, and Preston Smith is batting them up and whatever, and guys are just watching the ball hit the ground. We haven't forced a fumble. I mean,
yeah.
Amos dropped the pick. Oh yes, Amos dropped that pick. Oh, that would have been a game changer, possibly.
It would have. Yeah.
Again, I mean, like, it's just unbelievable.
It would have been something.
Our defense last year got to the quarterback. We led the league in pressures and, getting home. We had 2 guys with over 13 sacks. This year we have not even half of the pressures that we've had up to this point. We're on pace for half the pressures that we had at the end of the year last year. And then we have we've only turned the ball before this last game. We had never turned the ball over on offense, and we only created 3 turnovers on defense. And it's more of the same. We had 2 turnovers on offense, but yet we've still only had 3 turnovers on defense. Something that was like a benchmark of how good we were on defense. And
Yeah.
that's completely changed. And now we look like one of the worst units in football.
Yeah. They don't do anything. And we make Rob Gronkowski look like he's 29 again. Guys look like garbage all season. And of course, we allow him to tear us up.
Dude, how is Gronk, who probably runs like a 5'2" at this point in his career, getting
I
open
think I
against?
run faster than Gronk.
Yeah, how's he getting open against Josh Jackson,
Oh
Raven
my
Green,
Lord.
and Adrian Amos? How is he getting separation?
I have no idea.
Dude, I have no answer.
It's bad on defense. And the thing is, there's so many talented players there, and they're not all playing well, but they're not in positions to succeed when we're playing 3rd and 2 like it's 3rd and 32. Or we're rushing 3 or rushing 2, dropping Montravius Adams into coverage. We're not sending creative blitzes, something Mike Pettin is supposed to do really well. That's the thing. That's his specialty, is sending blitzes that catch the quarterback off guard. When do we send blitzes anymore? When do they ever get home? Did we have a sack this week?
No, we had
No, we did not.
4 QB hits, and that's it.
Oh my God.
Maybe a couple pressures.
I think this was Preston's best game, and he had 2 pressures and a hit. That was it. I think that was our only quarterback hit, right, Mason? Did you say 1 hit?
4 hits. I remember
Rashawn
Gary hit. Remember he got
the face mask. Oh my God.
That counted as a hit.
God. Did that count as a hit?
I believe so.
Oh my God. And Preston Smith. Preston Smith is a guy.
I thought he played okay. I thought he played better.
He's good against the run, which you can get a 7th round garbage man out there to play well against the run, an outside linebacker.
I don't know about that.
That's not something you value in an outside linebacker. How much are we paying Preston Smith to play the run well? Are you kidding me?
I get that. No, but he got home last year. He did. He got 13 and a half sacks or whatever. I don't even know how many he had. He might have 13, but I mean, he was, he's a guy that was good last year, and he's just not doing that right now. I wouldn't say he's bad. I don't agree with that.
He's bad.
He's not bad.
As he wanted, I look up his pass rush win rate on PFF right now, Ron.
No. All right, guys, but what's the solution? Like, we have to, what are we going to do to get us back on track? I know we play, we're going to get into that too, the Houston Texans, and that's a pretty decent offense. Their offensive line isn't good, but they do have weapons, all over the field, and they've got a great quarterback in Deshaun Watson. So what is the solution for the defensive side of the ball? Because we know the offense is going to get back going, but what does the defense have to do to kind of give us we have to win a Super Bowl. That's the thing here. We're going to win a Super Bowl. We're trying to, at least, and our defense is going to be a big part of that, whether we do or we don't.
Step 1, don't let Montravius Adams drop into coverage.
Don't do that. No more of that.
And how about send more than 4 guys on a pass rush?
Yeah, let's do that.
We can create some turnovers because
Jair
is playing lights out. Kevin King's going to be back. He's been playing phenomenal all year. Just send some pass rush. Come on.
Yeah, come on. We can cover well, I think. I think we need to do a lot of things, and a lot of things these things have to do with Mike Pettin, who I do not think is a very good defensive coordinator, to say the very least. But I think we need to send more pressure. Like you said, Mason, I think we need to play a little bit more man coverage when Kevin King is in the lineup, not with Josh Jackson. But with Kevin King in the lineup, I think we need to play a bit more of man coverage and stop dropping into zone so often, because a lot of these quarterbacks we're playing tend to pick us apart in zone. And then with the run defense, I wish we had a defensive coordinator who cared a little bit about run defense, which we do not have right now. And I think that would help a lot. But it's just all these fundamental things that we need to get better at, like rushing the passer, winning these one-on-one matchups in both run defense and rushing the passer. And then the safety play has not been good. Adrian Amos, this Smash and Savage combo, they haven't been good. They have not been good, and they need to get better. They really need to get better.
Well, you're right about that. I mean, nobody, regardless of what Mike Pettin's doing, I feel like the individual guys just aren't playing the level that they were playing at last year, and they're not playing to where we expect them to be. Z is one of the guys that I think is in that situation because he's just not getting home as much. He had that one good game against the Falcons, but other than that, he hasn't been that game wrecker that we saw last year. Preston's not getting that same pressure that you want him to. Kenny Clark, yesterday he didn't look amazing, but he's going to get his feet wet still and going to get back into it, and we know how good he is when he's healthy. And then obviously those interior guys are very inconsistent. We've got Montrevious Adams once in a blue moon has a good game. Kingsley Kiki has a good game once in a while. But really it's just inconsistency there. On the back end, Jair has been locked down so far. Really nothing, getting through him for the most part. Maybe a play or two per game, but nothing major. Uh, Kevin King, he's inconsistent, and last week he was out. Uh, but it's just a lot of inconsistency with these guys. Like in the middle of the field, that's a big problem. We just don't have anybody right now. Chris Barnes, I mean, yeah, we talk about Chris Barnes. He's good. He's like a nice little player, but we can't expect him to be our guy in the middle. It just won't work out. He's just not good enough in pass coverage. And he's not good enough in the run game. Frankly, he's just not good enough. He's a good depth player. He's a good guy to have if Christian Kirksey is down, and if like the way it is right now, if Kamal Martin's down also, he's a nice guy to have behind them. But we can't be expecting him to play at this level for a long time. And yet we don't make a move and go get a linebacker. We just don't do it for whatever reason. So yeah, I just don't know. We've got to get better individually so then we can get better as a unit overall.
The defense definitely needs all of them. Like I can't. What Chris Barnes? I'm higher on Chris Barnes than you are. I think he played pretty solid on Sunday. But what players played well? Dean Lowry? Did he even play on Sunday?
Yeah, he played, but he doesn't play well.
I
Nobody's playing well.
I haven't heard Dean Lowry's name in like 2 years.
I mean, I can
Yeah,
tell you one guy that played well. If we
Who's
want a
that?
little positive segment for this,
Jair Alexander.
yeah. If you guys probably saw the stat on Twitter, he shadowed Mike Evans on 19 of Mike Evans' 24 routes, and was only targeted once, and it wasn't even a catch. So Jair absolutely shut down a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL.
Well, he had that one play where he got turned around. Who was that against? Was that against Godwin?
It was either Godwin or
Scotty Miller possibly it was.
Yeah. Well, he had that one bad play, probably his first bad play of the season. But yeah, Jair's
That,
been
yeah,
great.
Yeah, that was like the one play I remember of him not being uh, at that level that he's been playing at all year long.
Yeah,
So yeah, he's the most consistent player on defense because he really brings it every week, especially this year more than even last year. He is just so consistently locked in, and he's locked down. Really, nobody gets past him. You could put anybody out there, and he's just covered him at the most elite level. So I've been really impressed with him, and he's really the only key guy that's been consistent on defense for us.
he's been great for sure. He's definitely been great. And Z is another guy you look to who's one of these great players that we have on defense. He didn't have a good game on Sunday, but you think he'll turn it around. So we have Jair and Z who look like they're franchise defensive player guys. But other than that, I'm not sure what to make of any of these guys. Amos, I don't know. Kevin King, I think he's good, but a little inconsistent. Chandon Sullivan looks pretty good. Kenny Clark is obviously great. But yeah, not much else there. Tyler Lancaster is a guy a lot of people liked going into 2019, who has been bad. Dean Lowry, ever since he got the contract, has been bad.
we've just used so much capital on the defensive side of the ball. Two guys you didn't even mention. I mean, Rashawn Gary was our first round pick, or one of our first round picks last year, and he barely sees the field because of the Smith brothers being in front of him. And then, Josh Jackson 3 years ago was our second round pick, and
Yeah.
besides last week, he barely ever touches the field.
Darnell Savage has been bad.
It's been disappointing. We were really looking for like a sophomore, bump, but that's not happened.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Josh Jackson this weekend? Because from my eyes, watching the game, I thought he was good at times, and then obviously he allowed a couple touchdowns and allowed some plays. But I thought he showed some flashes, but I don't know. It's just he can't be out there
Yeah,
consistently. It's
he's
just I think he's a good I think he's a good number four. I think that's what he is right now. And he's made some plays. He did last week. He made a couple nice plays, but other than that, I mean, he did let up some big ones, and we can't have that.
yeah, he's a guy for me like MVS who is now in his third year, and we know now he's never going to be that number one or number two reliable starter for us. He's not good enough. And we've been waiting for 3 years now for him to make that jump, for him to finally shine. He had a good training camp, supposedly, according to the beat writers, but it's just not showing. He had a few good plays. He made a few good tackles that we haven't seen a lot of this year from the defense. But yeah, that big pass interference call late in the game that set him up at the 1 yard line, that was horrible. And yeah, he got beat in pass coverage a few times. So uh, Josh Jackson is not living up to the second round pick that was used on him.
He's a guy that I'd like to see get more time in that nickel spot as opposed to Will Redmond because he's better in coverage than Redmond, and I think he's also better in the run game. I think he matches up better with bigger guys that maybe can match his speed that he kind of lacks at times. Like he's not a super fast guy like Jair. He's almost like kind of the total opposite of Jair. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's lankier, and he's better against the run. He's good against the pass, in that short intermediate range against bigger guys. He's one of the guys that can match up against these tight ends and even running backs out there. I think he'd be better suited there in that nickel spot, that dime linebacker spot, whatever you want to call it. I think he is better suited there than covering guys on the boundary at this stage in his career.
I agree with you, man. He did not excel in coverage. That pass interference that set him up at the 2 yard line. It's pretty much the dagger in the game. Can't really have those. But go back to the first drive for the Tampa Bay's offense. He was the one that stopped Ronald Jones on I think it was like a 3rd and 3. Set up Tampa for a punt, and got the Packers the ball back, and we ended up going up by 10 after that drive. And it was thanks to him. He got in the backfield and tackled him, and then
That was an impressive play.
yeah, and that's you like seeing flashes like that, and at least he's got something we can work with here. And like you said, that Will Redmond role, Will Redmond is terrible in the run defense, and I think Josh Jackson is much better suited for that, and not so much the pass coverage, but if we can use him as like that Will Redmond role, I think it'd fit much better because Will Redmond we've seen week after week, especially against the Saints, he's getting lost with Alvin Kamara and that those huge runs that he was breaking off. I felt like that was all on Will Redmond, and maybe we give Josh Jackson a shot there because once Kevin King comes back, he's not going to see much playing time whatsoever.
Yeah, the thing is, his first 2 years of his career, he's playing a lot of nickel corner, but then training camp this year, Mike Patton's talking about how, oh yeah, we're trying him at boundary. That's why he's had such a good camp. We're going to try and keep him on the boundary. And so I don't know. I don't know where he's good at. I don't know if he's good at anything really.
All right, let's get into this game, guys. We've got the Houston Texans coming up. I think it's a really good chance for us to get back on track. My main point of emphasis here is for Aaron Rodgers to help guys recognize throughout the locker room that now's the time to really get ready and be prepared. I think he sent a message to the whole locker room in that statement where he said he didn't like the week of practice and he was concerned about the level of readiness. Um, I think that he's got to do a good job here of getting guys ready and setting the tone, leading by example, which is his style of leadership. I think if he can do that really well this week, by the things he said and by the way he practices, I think he has to come out and practice like a pro, like we know he can, and then the rest of the team can kind of follow his lead. And if they do that, I think they're going to come out angry and ready to roll here. And I expect a big win. And I think we are going to see that, especially a rebound performance from the offensive side.
Yeah, I expect the same thing. I think they'll play really well against this Texans defense. Who we complain about our defense, but the Texans defense, I don't know if they have one good player. JJ Watt has been not good to start the season so far, and they are putrid in run defense. Derrick Henry ran for over 200 yards on them. I think we'll have a really successful day on offense this weekend. it may be one of those games where we play really well, we get our hopes up, but it's like it's kind of the same thing. Like we know we can beat these bad teams, so I think we will beat the Texans, and I think it will be convincing. But I don't know how much that'll say about the team. I think we'll still have a lot of problems. Hopefully we improve on them though.
I mean, they hung in there with the undefeated Tennessee Titans, to the very end, took
They
them to
did,
OT.
yeah.
But, that was, like you said, Griff, that was the Derrick Henry show. He legit pretty much single-handedly ended the game for them. That he had like a 94-yard touchdown run towards the end of the game, and then in OT he had like a 52-yard catch, kind of set him up for, a red zone opportunity, and he ran it himself. And yeah, that was the game. Now that I'm pretty sure the Texans are 1-5 now.
Mm-hmm.
Lost to the Vikings, who also only have one win. I mean, this team is not really great. Of course, they have Deshaun Watson, though, who I respect a lot as a quarterback. I think he is a top 10 talent. But, they don't give him much help. That offensive line is terrible. And they try to help give him weapons after, trading DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson and, a second-round pick. But, I mean, you got Will Fuller, who's always been a wide receiver, too. Brandon Cooks is getting towards the end of his career. And then,
Cobb.
Buddy Randall Cobb, yeah. I mean, they just got some, like, a lot of guys that have just been role players not role players, but, like, number twos most of their career.
Yeah.
And David Johnson is already, like, 28 years old, and that's really old for a running back. I mean, Deshaun is kind of like he's living like A-Rod was for those 2013, 2012 seasons where he didn't have a running back, didn't really have much help on offense, and just kind of doing it himself. And that defense, obviously, J.J. Watt's like their only stud, and they don't have anybody. That hopefully Aaron Jones bounces back, because this is a prime opportunity. That rush defense is terrible, as we saw last week against Tennessee. This is definitely an opportunity for the Packers to bounce back, and I hope to God it's not like a Los Angeles Chargers game that we had last year where we just underperformed terribly against a sub 500 team. We can't let that happen this year. If we want to show that we're a contender, we have to pounce on these Texans and show the rest of the NFL that we last week was just a fluke.
Yeah, I think this is really a chance for Matt LaFleur to get back in the groove. When we went down 14-10, the whole game spiraled out of control in Tampa, and I think a lot of it had to do with Matt LaFleur. They're not on script, like you said, Mason. They were playing catch-up ball, which they never had to do this season. So I think this year it's another bad opponent, another bad defense where Matt LaFleur can play the game his way. Aaron Rodgers can play in rhythm, and the Texans do not have any kind of pass rush. Their run defense is bad. So I think Matt LaFleur can really play his style of offense that he wants to play. Hopefully we get Tyler Ervin back so we can get more of the pre-snap motion, the pre-snap looks that we want to go with back on offense. And I think it'll be a lot of what we saw in the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah, Matt LaFleur, I really thought had maybe, it's up there with one of his worst games as a head coach. And a lot of it was due to the fact that he punted on many situations where we were down 21 and 28 points. We were near midfield, even in the situations where we're in our own end zone, down at the 20, 30, whatever we were at. He just was so passive. He never gave us an opportunity. He never gave Aaron Rodgers an opportunity to convert a fourth down, get some momentum, maybe go down and score and, then get back in the game a little bit, give us a chance. He just didn't seem to have any interest in doing that. So I'd like to see some, he said he wasn't impressed with how he did as a head coach this week. And I don't know if he'll realize, that we've got to, he seems to be more aggressive on fourth downs when we're winning for some reason, as opposed to when we're losing. He just decides to, punt the game
That
away.
4th and 8 at midfield, I
That's the
have
main
no
one.
idea what that was
I
about,
mean,
dude.
we've gone for 4th and 8s at midfield when we're at the
When we're up
beginning of
20,
games.
dude.
Maybe, yeah, we're up by 10, 7, whatever. When we're ahead, or even in a close game, whatever it is, we've seen him this year go for 4th and 7s. Even in field goal range at times. Even at the midfield area. So yeah, I'm concerned about that, but. he's got to be better, and so does everybody else. But I think, like Aaron Rodgers said, I think everybody's going to get a little bit of a wake up call from this game and realize that we've got to come prepared to beat every team in our wake if we want to get to where we want to be.
The thing that scares me about this game the most is that our defense could completely crap the bed against the Texans offense. And, you know, ever since they fired Bill O'Brien, this usually happens with NFL teams. They fire their head coach, they get a little galvanized, and they play a little bit on fire. We saw it in the Falcons game after we fired Mike McCarthy. I think if Deshaun Watson gets rolling, he had a great game last week. Unfortunately, he didn't win it, but he had a great game last week. The Texans offense played really well. And so I think that's the only thing that could really hold us back from blowing the Texans out, is if our defense does not play well against the Texans offense.
This is a whole different, this is a whole different test for Mike Pettin. I mean, last week he obviously shot the bed with Tom Brady and not rushing, the 43-year-old quarterback who, obviously would have crumbled under pressure. But now we got Deshaun Watson, who's one of the more mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'm very interested to see how he's going to play it. I mean, you obviously got to get pressure on him and make him, try to go outside of the pocket. It's not like he's the perfect quarterback. He will make mistakes, and I feel like that's going to be step one. That offensive line is not really good, and I mean, besides Laramie Tunsil on that left side, I mean, there's going to be opportunities for Mike Penn to finally be creative and try to make it hard on Deshaun Watson, even though it already is with that. He's already had a lot of struggles with that offensive line already. Just Mike Penn just can't squander this. This is the opportunity to show us Packer fans that he can be a capable defensive coordinator, because we're kind of on our last straw here. We're getting tired of this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it starts with Deshaun Watson. Obviously, when you look at the Houston Texans offense, and you kind of struggle with figuring out how to control what he does, because when you do blitz him, he has a lot of success outside the pocket, escaping sacks. It's hard to bring him down, even with that bad offensive line. But the key for us is going to be not blitzing. Um, Not necessarily not blitzing, but not sending too many extra guys to the point where he can just escape sacks, get outside the pocket, and then there's not enough guys out there to cover their receivers. What we need to do is be able to get pressure with our guys in a base front without a blitz. And if we're able to do that, it can put us in good positions to, create turnovers, make plays on balls getting thrown by Watson outside the pocket, and not allow him to kind of tee off from a passing perspective on our defense. And I think that's going to be the key to stopping that offense.
Yeah, we got to play good coverage, and we got to make sure this is how teams used to play Aaron Rodgers back when he was in his heyday. You got to create pressure with four guys and then play good coverage on the back end to make sure he doesn't create anything outside of the pocket. And I trust Jair Alexander to do that, but I don't know about anyone else.
This game kind of sets up well for that because, and the way Mike Pettin is kind of coaching at this point. If he's not going to be sending blitzes at the same rate that he was last year, well, it might as well be against a team like this that you might be able to get pressure with four guys, and then that kind of would lead to a situation where we're going to be able to stop them on numerous occasions. So I think that's going to be important. This could be a game where we kind of get back on track on defense, just based on the fact that we could see pressure for the first time really get to where we were at last year. And that's with guys we're not even blitzing guys. And then, like I said, that puts us in a better position because we'll have more guys in coverage against some of those nice wide receivers that they have.
Right.
Some things I want to see this week, we haven't seen one in a while. I want to see at least one turnover, and I want to see Preston Smith get a sack this week. A solo sack.
Yeah.
And
that would be nice.
I mean, it's been a while since we have a turnover. Yeah, I think you said earlier that last turnover was week 3 when, Z popped the ball out of Taysom Hill's hands, and it's been a while. I mean, we played the Falcons and then, Tom Brady and the Bucs with nothing, and no sacks last week either. It's it's time now. I want to see those two things this week.
Yeah, it definitely is time to get pass rush and create a turnover. I think that's we got to create those things. We have to manifest that pass rush and create those turnovers in order to win. That masks some of the issues with our defense, with Mike Pettine's calls, all of that. Creating turnovers are game changers. It makes a bad defense look good. It makes a bad game by the defense look even better because creating turnovers is really what changes the game at the end of the day, regardless of how many yards you allow. You know, it all ends up being fine if we've got turnovers and more chances for our offense to score. And with that, I kind of want to talk about the offense a little bit against this Houston defense. This is a good game for Aaron Rodgers, obviously, to get back on track. After one, rough game against a great defense, this Houston defense is not that great. And the one guy you mentioned, Griff, J.J. Watt, has really been neutralized for the most part early on this season. So yeah, I think this is a good opportunity for Aaron to get going. Houston's got one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, so Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams will have a good chance to get going. And Devontae Adams. This is a bad pass defense with no true, really lockdown corners in any capacity. Their back end is one of the league's worst. So I think Devontae, this is a chance for him to have like one of those really big games where he could go for 150 plus 200 yards. Uh, I think this is a good opportunity for everybody to get back on track and show the rest of the world what we are as a team.
Yeah, this could really be one of the games where Aaron and Tay just take over. And what you were saying about turnovers is those are so huge. Giving the opposing offense an extra possession is so huge, and it shows to be one of the turning points in most NFL games. And what we thrive on is not turning the ball over on offense. And last year getting turnovers on defense really helped us out. But we didn't have a turnover all year until last week, and then Aaron throws 2 picks. How often does he ever throw 2 picks in a game? How often does he ever throw pick sixes? That was only the third of his career. These are things you can't expect that to happen again. So I think this is really going to be a game where those two, Devontae and Aaron, get back on track. And yeah, like you said, I could see 130, 140 for Devontae on 7, 8 receptions. And I don't want to predict Aaron's stats, but I think he'll have a big game.
I think Coach LaFleur has to do a better job of relaying his message to Mike Pettin. To go back to the defense for a second, I just think that he needs to emphasize what he wants out of him. I know he's not a guy that he hired, but I think that he has to have better communication with him about what needs to be done on defense. He talked about that he's tired of the passiveness. He actually said this. He was going to take a very long look at the passiveness of the defense, especially on third down. So I think this week is going to be telling to see if what Matt LaFleur is really all about. Is he just this offensive guy that lets Mike Pettin do his thing, or is he a head coach in the NFL that needs to be in control of both sides of the football? And for me, he's got to emphasize that the defense needs to change things in order for us to really have success. And that includes on offense too. He has to, get back to what we were doing best. Um, and that comes with after the plan that he creates and the script that he comes out with. After that's gone, he has to be able to conduct himself better. That includes decision making, punting on fourth down at the right times, going for it at the right times, and making the right calls that are going to give us success against the Houston Texans this week.
I mean, this is the week to do it, and next week. I mean, we got two teams that have only won one game, and then we play the Minnesota Vikings after the Texans, and then we got the San Francisco 49ers, who have given us and Mike Pettin in general so much trouble, especially in the run game. These are the 2 weeks we got to fix it, like you said, Bron. Maybe Matt LaFleur can relay something to Mike Pettin's brain to maybe try to stop the run. Maybe not just let your not let your pass defense have to guess when it's a run play and try their best to stop the run when it does happen. I mean, we got to use these 2 weeks because I don't want to lose to the Niners again. I've had too much pain the NFC Championship game last year and that Sunday night game last year. I don't want to lose. I want to be known as I want the Packers to be known as one of the best teams in the NFC, if not the best team in the NFC. And these are the 2 weeks to do it. We got to beat up on these one-win teams.
You're right about that, Mason. We've got to go out and beat these tough teams, including the 49ers who've had our number. But this week it starts with the Houston Texans, and it's going to be a game that we have to come out and show our dominance and prove who we are. So for me, we've got to come out and play our best football of the year, and I mean that. I think we have to have a really, really cohesive plan and come out and be ready to really light it up against a team that's not a good team, that fired their head coach, that's completely in flux on both sides of the ball. We've got to come out and do a good job and win this football game big.
It's not going to be easy. Anytime you're going against a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, this is not going to be an easy game whatsoever. We're going to have to be ready. We're going to have a good game plan, and we can't just, be average. We want to blow them out. We don't want to be like last year where we always played down to our competition. We just got to, prove to ourselves that we're still a contender in the NFC and just brush off last week. And, this is the perfect time to do it. You're going against the Houston Texans. We play them every 4 years. I mean, just use this game as just a bounce back game and just, run with it from here. I mean, no, just don't even think about the Tampa game. Let's just move on and, it starts right now. Let's beat the Texans.
Absolutely, man. We just got to beat the Texans, and that's the goal right now, and we'll move from there. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Today in Titletown Packers podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate everyone that listens, and we're looking forward to hopefully talking about a win against the Texans. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much. Go Pack Go.